SVC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of iGaming Daily in partnership with Optimove, the #1 CRM solution for the iGaming market. I'm joined by iGaming Experts editor Joe Streeter. Welcome to the podcast. How have you been? We've got a lot to dissect today.
Yeah, we really do have some really interesting stories to go into. They've been great to cover on iGamingExpert.com this week, and I'm really excited to dive deeper as well. And yeah, it's great to be back on the podcast too.
Yeah, it's two stories which, just for full transparency, I am not an expert in these, which is why I've got my iGaming expert with me. But we're going to touch on two significant developments for the global gambling sector. And that's Rwanda's decision to significantly increase its gambling taxes. And in the second half of the show, we're going to touch on Thailand and its integrated resort bill. And then if we have time at the end, there's a story that we might touch on, which includes a drone and a very famous singer who loves a bet. Before that, Joe, Rwanda, it's a complex story, and I think we need to kind of break this down easy into different segments. So first off, let's focus on the gambling side of things and the tax rises. Can you just give us an update of what the Ministry of the Finance has said and introduced?
The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, he stated during a press conference that a GGR tax would rise for the gambling industry from 13% to 40%. So quite a monumental rise there.
Yeah.
And also withholding tax on winnings would grow from 15% to 25%. That's one they pinpointed as saying will slow the frequency in which VIP players, high betting players, high staking players, better, and will have a positive impact. This is what they've cited, will have a positive impact on social responsibility in the region.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's worth noting before we kind of go into it that tax rises in Rwanda are very much high on the agenda, not just for the gambling industry, but for the wider industries, for various industries, are very much high on the agenda right now, and not just tax rises, tax introductions as well, which is quite interesting, including one on mobile phones. They said the absence of mobile phone tax was there to increase mobile penetration, obviously boosting the economy and boosting the tech infrastructure. Now 80% of Rwandans utilize mobile phones, so they are bringing in a mobile phone tax. They are also bringing in a tax on overseas products such as Netflix and Amazon, citing that they are aiming to drive economic growth and strengthen domestic resource mobilization. So, yeah, really interesting times in Rwanda.
Yeah, and I think you highlighted it there, and this is why we're going to go on to the other side of this story, which is kind of the political side of things. You said to strengthen kind of income and resources within Rwanda and kind of self-sustaining. And that's because, again, there's been political issues when it comes to alleged involvement with rebel groups M23, and you've seen the West kind of retaliate to that. Can you just kind of provide a bit more of that background and how it may potentially, hypothetically, relate to this? Yeah,
so right now it seems reported Rwandan backing of rebel forces in the DR Congo has kind of led to retaliation, more in the form of threats from the West and specifically from the UK, to be honest. With David Lammy saying that Rwanda's involvement in the DR Congo, or alleged involvement in the DR Congo, is putting their aid under threat, which includes £32 million of bilateral UK assistance. I can read you David Lammy's quotes if you want. These are from earlier in the year. He said that all of that is under threat when you attack your neighbours, and we are clear that we cannot have countries challenging the territorial integrity of other countries. Just as we will not tolerate it in the continent of Europe, we cannot tolerate it wherever in the world it happens. We have to be clear about that. And what that means is obviously that puts the Rwandan economy in somewhat of jeopardy. That withdrawing of funding would be somewhat significant to them. So there's a real focus on boosting domestic economic input, I guess, and just boosting their own economy through domestic product.
Yeah, there's a whole history kind of behind Rwanda, certainly with the DR Congo. It relates to kind of the Hutsus and Tutsis back then. I am not an expert to go into that, and I'm not going to delve into it. But it's interesting to see kind of these developments of how they become self-sustaining and just how volatile they're going to go in terms of taxes.
Yeah.
But they said this is a medium strategy, and I just want to get your opinion on how you think this medium strategy would actually play out for the gambling sector in general.
Well, I don't know. I can't make a prediction on what this means for the gambling sector exactly, but...
What about operators who are maybe looking in?
Yeah, what I think it will emphasise is that operators really need an understanding of not just gambling frameworks in countries before they enter, but also they need an understanding of the wider political climate and political volatility within a region before they enter that market.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it through various conversations and interviews I've had with companies throughout the sector. There's a lot more eyes turning to Africa now. So when iGaming Expert, when you're reporting on these, and it's great things to kind of report on and to highlight, it really does emphasize that point of you need to understand the market you're going into. We used to say it all the time when Latin America first emerged. Localization is key. You need to understand the market. It's not just one size fits all. Africa is a huge continent, and you break it down into countries and countries, they're all different. So, Joe, you're going to be following this Rwanda story as it happens, as it breaks. Any updates will be on iGaming Expert. But we're going to leave that. We're going to park that for now. We're going to take a quick ad break. And then when we come back, we are jumping on the jet and heading over to Thailand.
SBC Summit Rio is back from the 25th to the 27th of February. Join us at Rio Centro for Brazil's biggest betting and iGaming event. Get your tickets now at sbcevents.com.
Welcome back. As promised, we are now not literally in Thailand, but we're going to talk about Thailand. And Joe, again, can you just summarize the updates, what's been happening there? Because you have been covering Thailand quite extensively over the past kind of month or so.
Yeah, I feel like eyes of the world have been on emerging markets and new markets this year, obviously Brazil, but in terms of land-based casinos, one that presents significant allure is the Thai market. We know this bill has kind of been accelerated by the relatively new government. And yeah, there was a real change to that bill this week, or a shift in pace that I don't think many saw coming. The introduction of a 50 million Thai baht in fixed deposits for at least 6 months requirement for Thai residents to enter the land-based resorts, the integrated resorts they're calling them, and a 5,000 Thai baht fee to simply enter the venues. Essentially what these regulations do, what these barriers do, is they exclude Thai residents from entering these integrated resorts and these casinos. So they're going to be strictly for tourists, it seems, which, yeah, is a shift in pace that we kind of didn't see coming.
Yeah, and this came after a meeting with Thailand's Prime Minister. I am not going to try and pronounce the name because I butcher it, and China's President Xi Jinping.
Yeah, so we've actually heard from the Secretary General of Thailand's Council of State, Pakorn Nilprapont. He said on Wednesday after the adjustments to the bill, that they don't want the public to be bogged down by this gambling fanfare. He told the Bangkok Post that the entertainment complexes are man-made tourism attractions, and that's the focus, not the gambling. So they are imposing strict measures on Thais and hoping to stop them from entering and, in his quote, becoming gambling addicts. And like you mentioned, it's hard to draw conclusions from this and what led to this. We don't know what exactly direction the bill was going in originally, how it was meant to be put forward. But yeah, an interesting meeting, I think last week, between President Xi Jinping and the Thai president. He warned of the potential impact of gambling of the casino bill in Thailand. it was quite surprising to many that he even brought it up, but he did bring it up. And yes, so since then we've had these changes. I don't draw conclusions that these changes are as a result of that meeting, but very interesting nonetheless.
A quick question, because it's worth noting that, again, gambling in mainland China is illegal. We have Macau as well.
Yeah.
If these, again, we speak hypothetical, if these changes didn't come in and residents and, citizens of Thailand could use these integrated resorts, what impact do you think that would have had on Macau?
It's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. Macau is the gambling capital of Asia, I think. So, and I think it would take a lot to budget from that status to kind of knock it off its perch as that. Whether the ability for Thais to gamble in Thailand would have had a significant impact on Macau, I don't know. I don't think so. But it is very interesting. It's also kind of worth being conscious of the fact that there has always been a focus on these integrated resorts, as they're called, not being gambling venues as such. They are integrated resorts. They are entertainment venues. And Shinawatra, the Thai president, was always very clear about that. And one of the things she kind of put down as a focus to show that they are entertainment venues is the fact that only 10% of floor space can be utilised for gambling. So, yeah, entertainment venues. Also worth noting the locations of, I think there's 7 touted venues. The locations, I think Bangkok has been said over and over again as a potential. The rumour mill has been rife with Bangkok being a venue for these, which would, again, emphasise that they are kind of, that the focus was always on tourism and entertainment rather than Thai residents being able to gamble there. But nonetheless, these restrictive measures on Thai residents did come as a surprise, and yeah, very interesting, quite a drastic step from the Thai Premiership. Yeah,
and kind of rounding up this section, what do you think the next steps are then with this potential update to the casino bill?
Well, I think we've seen Shinawatra, since she took over, has had a real focus on pushing this bill through. And another factor in this was the opposition party in Thailand. They put forward a no confidence vote, and part of that no confidence vote was the integrated resorts bill, I should say. They put forward the case that they think it will have a social impact, a negative social impact on Thailand and on Thai residents. Well, these restrictions essentially negate that bill, that element of the no confidence bill anyway, because Thai residents simply aren't going to be able to, or largely aren't going to be able to gamble in these venues.
Perfect. There's plenty more on this story, Joel, that you've covered on iGaming Expert and Thailand in general, because you've been all over this, certainly the Asian market. You've been all over it.
Yeah.
So I'll leave all the links in the description below for the listeners to check out. But before we round up the podcast today, I did tease a quick 5-minute section on a either brilliant or stupid viral video that's been going around on social media.
I think both can be true, right? A little bit stupid and also a little bit brilliant. Is that fair to say?
I think so, because we're actually talking about it on the podcast. So it seems to have worked. And that's the drone footage that's in Drake's apartment or his house or complex, which started off looking at a online casino website, which we believe is Stake.
It's Stake, I think so. He's taken to Instagram afterwards and put up a post essentially confirming.
Oh, he's confirmed it?
Yeah, well, okay. He put up the stakes are high and so am I or something, and the still of him throwing the flip-flop or slider or whatever it is.
Can we just confirm that was an awful throw?
Yeah, it really was bad. A very flimsy throw. And then in the next shot is him in a Stake t-shirt. So, I mean, it forms part of this wider Stake campaign that is just some of the most extensive guerrilla marketing online that we've ever seen. You can't go anywhere without seeing a Stake logo. So, yeah, really interesting. Kind of worked, right? And the Drake partnership is one that should be studied because there's so much coverage they've got from Drake. I'm sure he's not cheap as an ambassador, but so much coverage they've got from him.
Yeah, it is. I think it's brilliant, to be honest. The The first thing I saw as soon as I entered LinkedIn this morning was floods of people saying, like, this is either stupid or brilliant. Like, what do people make of this? And it's people within our industry, the marketing side as well. And it's like, well, of course it's brilliant. We're talking about it. And it's so stupidly simple at the same time, but just pure brilliant.
Part of the marketing, like, success of it is the suspension of disbelief, right? Where you go, you know, it's fake, right? It's definitely fake.
Yeah.
It's real. Is it real? Is it fake? Is it?
It's the enigma around it.
As soon as you get that, then you get people talking, and you really you build a bubble. The only thing I would say is you see him on, I think it's a Sydney penthouse balcony, and he's playing. He's got like a standard iGaming home screen. There's nothing in there to suggest that is a stake home screen. It just looks like an iGaming home screen. So. Yeah, I don't know. It advertises iGaming more than it does stake specifically, I think.
Yeah, I think they were. I've looked at a few comment sections on people's posts on LinkedIn, and I think people were confirming that it was a stake kind of home screen.
Subtly stake home screen, though, right? Like, it wasn't
it didn't scream their branding to me, but you are right. It kind of is an advertisement for iGaming in general rather than just stake.
Yeah, an advertisement for playing casino games on a balcony somewhere in a penthouse.
It makes
accessible to all of us.
Makes a nice change from the Bonnie Blue stuff. Let's put it that way. Perfect, Joe. Thank you for easing me through my return to the iGaming Daily podcast. As you can probably tell, our demeanour has changed mine anyway, has changed from the start to the end. I am a lot more comfortable now, but happy to be back. You've guided me through some complex stories. And yeah, to the listeners out there, I will leave any links in the description for you to check out on the stories that we've covered today. And make sure you visit iGaming Expert to find all your latest iGaming news from Joe Streeter and the team. But apart from that, I've been James Ross, and this has been iGaming Daily.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.